Good afternoon, everyone. Give everybody a chance to get settled after that. Very nice event, nice ceremony. Obviously, that was a great event for the police department. I'm glad to see that. I plan to do something similar in the future with our correction officers. I'm Brian Sullivan, president of the Nassau County Correction Officers Benevolent Association, for the record. Before I get started on a thing I want to speak to about the capital plan, the capital budget, I can't help myself with the commissioner speaking about training and de-escalation techniques and mental health training. Wow, what a concept. I wonder what that's like. But that's for another budget meeting. I'm here representing Nassau County Correction Officers, and I'm here, as I said, to speak on the capital plan. I have stood and spoken here on countless occasions regarding the infrastructure problems we face at the correctional facility: crumbling buildings, numerous electrical and plumbing problems, locksmithing issues, HVAC, lighting, mold, dilapidated vehicles, etc. I've also spoken here numerous times about the jail master plan, usually a 6-year jail master plan that's designed to alleviate and correct all of these issues. I've had several meetings with the last several jail administrations. Plans have been discussed, pie-in-the-sky ideas of building chilled water plants to use for air conditioning and heating, putting up new buildings, etc. They're all great ideas, but they're all fantasies. None of that's ever happening anytime soon at the jail because nobody wants to invest in correctional facilities. We currently have an architectural design firm, after years of discussion, touring our facilities, doing an overview of our place, along with a firm that reviews criminal justice initiatives and alternatives, etc. This same group actually are the same ones who did the studies of closing Rikers Island in the city and building high-rise borough-based alternatives with boutique shops and restaurants below them. Why we're exploring these avenues is a mystery to me, because that's another fantasy. It's not happening here. It's certainly not going to be happening in New York City anytime soon. I fought for years to get our HVAC issues fixed in our facility, all while new precincts were built in Nassau County, parks were rebuilt, a new social services building is built, and as we spoke of in last year's budget meeting, a new property building is being built for the police department, along with the training academy that we're involved with. It took years to address our major HVAC issues: heating, venting, and ventilation and air conditioning. Many were finally completed, so our staff didn't have to work in a correctional environment in stifling heat, but we still have over 60 air conditioning units that are still in need of replacement in many areas of our facility. Like every year in budgets, from our perspective, the police department asks for dollars and they get it. They deserve it. They deserve every penny they get. We ask for pennies and we get salt. Going back through the entire Sposato administration, as continues now, we cannot get our infrastructure problems adequately addressed or lined up no matter what we do. And I'm not sure what we need to do to get these things rolling, as we see new buildings, initiatives being done all around the county. We all know no one wants to invest money into correctional facilities, especially in today's climate, with so many of our elected leaders in the state looking to release dangerous criminals loose on the public every day and put the criminal justice system out of business. But you know what? This is also a social issue inside our jails. Before, it used to be who wants to make criminals and our jails comfortable. We don't need to put money into our jails. Let's just pay the salaries and what it needs to run them. But it's much more than that. Environment dictates safety and our facilities. Heat creates tension, neglect creates liability, and security risks, severe security risks. Please remember, and I know everyone here does, but I want to say it for the record, that we have over 1,000 of our Nassau County employees working in these dilapidated buildings that have numerous safety and security concerns, particularly since now we're only housing the worst of the worst inmates, because through bail reform, the lesser crimes, some of them not so lesser, are released out onto the streets. I know not everything is going to get fixed at once. Look how long it's taken us to get issues addressed that I spoke of, like the ACs, vehicles that were finally purchased after years of neglect and debate. We continue to have vehicle fleet problems that create safety and security concerns. The issue is, where do we start? I just want to read you a quick, if you'll give me a few moments, if you'll indulge me. Facility capital repairs that are at the top of the list. There are several others, but at the top of the list, our 832 building, which is named because it has 832 cells in it. Copper lines for domestic water lines are currently being held together with clamps and rubber gaskets due to inferior copper installation. Waterproofing and BD in the 832 building, the inability to maintain temperatures. There is a 70-year-old hot water tank that hasn't been replaced in our B building, 70 years old. Number one on the list is the 832 building roof. Currently, roofing is 15 years old, pending Department of Public Works resolution. I'll get into that in a second. There is fencing that separates us from the old folks' home in the Knolls. That fencing was installed in 1992. It's outlived its useful life and is now a security concern. Senior citizens living next door to the jail. As I spoke about HVAC, a fire alarm upgrade. We are at end of life on computers and nodes that were submitted in 2014. We're unable to service all of the troubles in our fire alarm systems. Community sirens to restore community alerts for the surrounding areas haven't been replaced. Parking lot, things like that, we need top coats. Additionally, from our logistical support unit itself, if you'll allow me, we used to have, back in the year 2000, 68 mechanics working in the jail. We currently have 20 people in our logistical support unit, of which 14 are actual mechanics that are trained mechanics. We have over 2,000 toilets and showers to maintain. We currently have 150 cells out of service in the plumbing field and HVAC. Due to us having no one working in the HVAC field on staff, we have to utilize outside contractors on almost a daily basis. The next trade of importance is electricians. We have 3 who are on extended leave due to injuries. One's been here for 40 years, is going to soon retire. That leaves us currently with 1. In a facility of this size, people like electricians are indispensable during especially extreme weather-related events. The jail currently, and for the last couple of years, has no locksmiths. How many locks and keys do you think are in a correctional facility? We have no actual certified locksmiths on staff at the correctional facility. We have other maintenance men that just make do. The importance of maintaining mechanics on the correctional center is extremely urgent. And not only do they provide mechanical things, electrical, plumbing, because they also are responsible for removing snow, doing laundry for the inmates, supplies, grounds, etc. County has over 160 vehicles in our fleet. We currently have 2 garage mechanics, one of which who is out on extended leave. Lastly, we have no welders. The jail is full of bars, full of metal, full of everything like that, and we don't have any welders on staff. With this said, all of these things need to be prioritized. They have been prioritized. The mantra here for years and years has been no money, no money, no money. Plus, we're behind the walls, so who sees it? So the only one ranting and raving is me here with an appointed sheriff. He can't stand up here and rant and rave like I do and bring attention to what people don't see behind the scenes. So unfortunately, that job falls to me. With it said, I have to bring special attention to the roofing issue. Our 832 building is in dire need of replacement. Not repair, replacement. It's 15 years old, and through our investigation, wasn't done correctly by the vendor 15 years ago. We currently have Department of Public Works sending 2-man teams with what amounts to caulking guns, trying to plug holes in the roof and the facade. It's the biggest waste of time I've ever seen. We're spitting in the wind with this roof. I actually have a video that I'm going to send you of the roof that is actually flapping in the breeze that was patched about a year. It goes back to 2019. It was patched. It's never been replaced yet. One of those Flex Seal kind of deals, and put it down. The roof was actually flapping. So that's still there. That roof is still there. It was tacked down. So you can imagine what it's like now in 2021. Additionally, when the previous administration replaced the AC units, they simply went over the current compromised roof, creating more roofing problems. Everything is done backwards here because it's all done on an emergency basis. Reading some highlights of previous capital plans, if you'll indulge me quickly. The 2020 to 2022 out-year capital improvement plan talks about projects to provide body scanners. There was $800,000 that was allocated for body scanners. That ended up with our fiscal problems before. That money disappeared, and our department actually went a different route to buy different types of body scanners, which were bought, and it was actually done in a much better fashion. What happened to that $800,000? I have no idea. We talk about the jail 6-year master plan, supporting the rehabilitation of the Nassau County Correctional Center for current day and future needs. Key objectives are to reduce the amount of maintenance as well as properly address deficiencies and repairs. That's 2020 to 2022. 2014 to 2016, we talk about a capital plan for which the initial focus will be to rehabilitate portions of Cell Block A for housing inmates. I have no idea what cell block A referred to back then. We have an A building that hasn't housed any inmates since 1993. After this is complete, evaluations will be made assessing additional needs of the facility. And here I am again. We go back to the 2007 capital budget. The Correctional Center projects include a jail 6-year master plan. That seems to come up every year. Kitchen retrofits, vehicle reimbursement, things like that. We talk yearly about the jail 6-year master plan, but nothing ever seems to get done unless it's done on an emergency basis. There's one thing I would like to see accomplished with this round of capital budget hearings is to establish performance bars, timelines. I want to see dates nailed down for these projects to commence. No more generalized statements that the listed projects are part of a capital plan that we're exploring. As you can see, obviously, the jail 6-year master plan goes back at least to 2004 and earlier. The only capital expenditures that occur here are emergency expenditures. Does anybody remember the Muffin Monsters from last year? We joked about the name. Muffin Monsters sewage treatment choppers that are in the buildings. Years of neglect that caused the shutdown of one of our main buildings because we didn't address this long foreseen and long discussed sewage problem. The building had to be shut down. All of our inmates had to be moved to the other side of the facility so we could replace sewage treatment grinders that gave out after 20 years. They just could not be fixed anymore. That all had to be done on an emergency basis. With roofs falling in on our heads, the main focus of the previous administration was to have inmate visitor shelters installed. That was done. Thank God we have visitor shelters so the visitors to our facility can step in out of the rain. The only problem is it continues to rain inside our buildings when it's raining outside because the roofs are all compromised. There is a daily death rattle screaming from our plumbing and electrical issues. Our computers and IT issues are a disaster. And once again, we don't have a locksmith in a correctional facility. We make do instead. What make do means, I have no idea. What happens when we need a locksmith in an emergency situation? Hope the electrician can fix it? That's not a good mix inside a correctional facility. Excuse me. Safety and security, since the day I started here, is the buzzword. Safety and security, safety and security, safety and security. None of that can be accomplished if the buildings are falling down over our heads and the can is continually kicked down the road. My number one priority here, again, is please help us fix the roof in the 832 building. Slip and fall hazards, officers running into dorms where inmates are fighting. We have to separate them, and we're running through puddles of rainwater inside our dormitories. It's insane that we have to deal with this year in and year out. I appreciate the time. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Well, thank you, Brian. And we appreciate your repeated visits here to make us aware of what's happening at the correctional facility. As you know, we, I think at your instance, toured the facility a couple of years ago. So we firsthand witnessed some of the defects that you're discussing today. I do remember in 2018, the minority leader, myself, and members of the administration went to your offices to talk about remedying some of these issues. And in particular, the subject of the master plan came up and was repeatedly the answer as to what we're going to do going forward. And here we are almost 3 years later, and there's been very little movement.
Right.
As you know, we held up the capital plan because of these issues, and we have commitments now for the administration on the 832 building to get that roof replaced in a timely fashion. But you're right. We have to insist on timelines going forward for when this design work is going to be done. And we intend to stay on top of this until those conditions are upgraded as our fine employees have a right to be working in. So we will stay on top of this.
I appreciate it, Legislator Nicolello, and it's funny because I've said it here before a couple of times that I'm usually here advocating to hire correction officers. That's something that I'll do again at the budget hearings in October. But I'm also here. It's funny, I don't represent CSEA employees, and I'm here trying to advocate to hire CSEA employees in another union so we have a safe and secure facility here. But I appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Legislator Ford, and then Legislator Whitten.
Good afternoon, Brian. Thank you very much. You know, and I guess it's, and I agree with the presiding officer, that we will make sure that that roof gets replaced because we have to start these projects and make sure we follow them through and start with a better plan so that we're not doing everything by emergency, because I agree that it does create an unsafe condition. And considering the fact that when you talk about the fence being so old and that you have elderly, and because of bail reform, you know, we only have the most egregious of criminals that are basically living now in the Nassau Correctional Facility. So we need to truly address this. We will be having a public hearing on this, a public safety hearing on this, probably within the next 3 weeks.
Right.
I intend, though, and I'm going to ask if you would then take me on a tour through the jail to highlight prior to this hearing a lot of the grievances that you brought up in regard to the buildings, the conditions, and stuff like that. I even have a concern as well, even when we talk about the vehicles, because as I understand, I don't know where we are with all of the vehicles, if they are all up to date, because I know that these are the very same vehicles that we use to transport our adolescent offenders, so it just seems to be a lot of patchwork type of stuff, and I understand that the sheriff really can't get up here and complain, but I really would like to see him get up here and tell us, what he's going to do to start correcting a lot of these issues, because we thought 3 years ago they started working on all this stuff, and obviously they haven't, and I think that we need to address it specifically, and I know that in the past Jerry Laracuda had talked about the locksmiths, that you have special type of locks for the jail cells and stuff like that. So this is something that we really, we're back, and the pandemic is over, we're back, and
I sat here and
sure
did a whole presentation about our vehicles, 2 years ago, whatever, and it was very eye-opening, and since then, maybe I just have to keep coming here and doing that type of stuff, because a lot of our vehicles were replaced. We still have several that need to be replaced, but it's amazing when you expose some of the issues that are there, that action comes around.
And I'm also concerned about the number of employees that we have there. I think that, I always advocate, for more, because I think you need it a lot of times, and I'm sure you're aware, like, you might have officers that have to work overtime, like they might be doing double shifts or whatever, or something happens.
Yep.
And it's, as much as it's nice when people say, oh, well, they're making money, but sometimes they just don't, they want to go home.
You can't go home.
Yeah, they can't. And that's a sad fact. So, but we will do whatever we can. I will reach out to you this afternoon, and we'll set up a tour, and then we'll schedule the public safety hearing. Okay?
Thank you.
Let's say to Reggie Witten, and then let's set a Rhodes.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. I know it is a hassle, but it does keep us informed, and I appreciate it. So where are we with the vehicles? Because I know there was $1 million put in at one point under the prior administration, and I know that some of that wasn't spent, and then I'm understanding another $318,000 for sheriff vehicles are also part of this capital.
I believe that's going forward. The one thing that I say here every year is that we had to pull out $1 million to buy several vehicles, and we did buy several vehicles, patrol vehicles, transportation vehicles. Our medical unit is in dire need of vehicles, stuff like that. But if you have some older vehicles, in the past it was $250,000 a year that was allocated for our transportation budget, that gets eaten up with maintenance. Gets eaten up with a lot of maintenance, a lot of repairs on older vehicles, so you're not buying new vehicles with that. So
with the 1.3 though, were you able to?
We did buy several vehicles, and like I said, after that last presentation that I gave here, it took, I believe, at least 2 rounds to get the orders done right, because they always kick back an order if something isn't in the comma isn't in the right place.
Right.
But we did get we did get several new patrol vehicles, transportation vehicles, but we still need more. And I believe there are numerous old Crown Vics that are still being used by many of our people that aren't even in production anymore. And it's very expensive to keep things like that up and running, and they all need to be replaced.
All right. So the $300,000 that's coming now, 313 or something. Do you have that allocated? Because I think last time what happened, unfortunately, was, like you said, it just seemed to sit for a long time. So I
can guarantee almost all of that is allocated for repairs and upkeep.
Really?
That's not going to be for the purchase of new vehicles.
$318,000 for repairs for cars? Wow.
I'll double check that for you, but that's what's gone on in the past. When you have $250,000 in there, that's kept on the side for repairs and upkeep and maintenance.
All right, and just check on the million too, because the last time we met, there was, I think, only. I don't want to say the wrong number because I don't recall exactly, but there wasn't a very big percentage of that was spent.
That was spent, yeah.
So let's just see what's left, and let's see what we can do to move it forward. And the $2 million that you're getting today, hopefully, do you have that allocated in your mind, or like what you want to do with that? Like I know you said your priority is the roof.
My priority is the roof, and we don't have a price for the roof. All of the stuff that the backup information that I've gotten is it's we're up there just filling things with
Right.
little cans and caulking guns and things like that. We need to find exactly what it's going to cost. DPW, I'm sure, would have that because there's been studies done before, but I haven't been given a number, and I don't know whether $2 million is going to cover that for the 832.
All right, well, just keep us, even via email, advised, because
I
I'm
will.
hoping, I felt good when I saw some of these numbers, especially for the vehicles. I thought we were
Right.
making strides, but you're the one that
But
kind of
if we
has
don't keep
to.
a rolling
I
system
agree.
going,
And I'd also like to attend either with Legislator Ford or if
By
you
all
want to
means.
do it, however you would like to do it, I'm always available.
sounds good.
Legislator Rhodes?
I was curious if we happen to have anybody here from the administration that could give us an update on the roof replacement over at the jail, since that obviously is an important issue.
I think Ken Arnold is participating online. I see his symbol up there.
Yes, Ken Arnold. So the question's on the 832 roof.
Yes.
So the 832 roof, we initiated with our requirements contract emergency work to patch the roof while we're waiting for our new consultant, Lero, who recently started to do a evaluation and an immediate redesign of the roofing system on the building. The roofing system on the building is already complicated because the amount of equipment that sits on that roof, and that is why it's always had issues with water infiltration. During our patching work, we actually found locations where some of the dog houses on top of the roof were missing pieces, which was causing a lot of water infiltration. So we've been addressing that. Lero has started their work, and their first task is to get us a plan on how to seal the roof and replace it. And then they'll be looking at the rest of the building, which includes the hot and water piping and various other issues that we've discussed with the correction facility staff for what we need to address.
And Commissioner Arnold, do we have a timetable for when we would expect these various phases to be completed?
I need to sit with Lero and get a timetable. They're just finishing the evaluation of their roof this summer, so I need to sit down with them and get a timetable based on what they're recommending, the amount of work that this will require.
Is it
And this,
is that something that you're going to need to wait until they do their evaluation to create a timetable, or is this something we might be able to get in advance of our public safety hearing?
I need to speak with them and see where they are in their process, and then I can know once I get back next week exactly where they are, and then I can tell you if I can produce a time frame or do we need a little more time to put that together.
Because let's try and push them if we can, because this has already taken far longer than I think anybody really would reasonably have expected.
Understood. The contract took much longer to get through than we wanted to. We did put a retroactive start date in the contract halfway through that process because I knew this was going to be an issue. So they did start, I think it was not June 1st. I think it was a little earlier than that to get this up and running, and which is also why I brought my requirements contractor out there to do something immediately to stop the leaks as much as possible as we could.
Thanks, Commissioner Arnold.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I think we're good, Brian. Thank you very much.
I'll see you at the hearing. Thank you very much. Have a good day.